So we have a which one doesn't belong. Take 30 seconds to a minute. Come up with at least one thing that doesn't belong and a reason why. See if you can come up with more than one, okay?
Hey, shh. Lola, no.
All right. So let me pull up my participants chat to see if anybody raises their hand. All right, we'll take anybody that wants to verbally describe what they're seeing. Oh, okay, I've got a couple in chat. So Ahmad, go ahead and then I'll go to the chat after that.
I think number 4 because the line is not a function. Like even though
Okay, so Ahmed says the fourth one because the line isn't a function. Okay, you guys agree with that? Are any of the other ones also non-functions? Okay, so I agree. I think that's a great idea, right? So quadrant 4 isn't a function. Okay, quadrant 2, how do we know that's a function? Because you're right, Ahmad, it is. Can anybody jump in and kind of explain?
The line test.
Who's that?
It passes the vertical line test.
Okay, so Luke says it passes the vertical line test, but I see 2 points, like the red point and the blue point, or the blue point and the green point. I see 2 points. Can anybody explain what that means?
those are like 2 different lines.
Okay, they're 2 different lines, but do 2 points exist at that same x value?
Yeah.
Thinking like I want you guys to talk about the difference between like the closed point and the open point, because that makes a difference.
Oh, it's not open at the beginning of the red line.
Okay,
So
that's not really of the red line is what you're saying. So that point isn't really a point, right? Okay, so that's exactly why it passes the vertical line test. Awesome. I love it. Okay, now I want to go back to Juliana's comment that she put in chat. Number 3, it passes the vertical line test. When you said, never mind, I'm wrong, do you mean it doesn't pass the vertical line test? Because I think it does.
No, it does. But I thought we were only supposed to pick one that's wrong, but then quadrant 1 also passes it.
Okay, so quadrant 1 and quadrant 2 and quadrant 3 all pass the vertical line test. That's still great though, because quadrant 3 still looks a little bit different, right? Anybody else want to share verbally before I go to the next portion in chats?
Could you describe the vertical line test?
Yeah, so if we take a vertical line, like it's obviously imaginary, right? But any vertical line, if you kind of run it across your graph from left to right, the goal is for that vertical line only 1 point at a time, right? So as we're moving from like, you know, across from left to right, it should only be passing through 1 point at a time. So when you look at quadrant 4 right here, let me see if I can do something here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make a vertical line, but if we kind of make a vertical line just like that, right? See how it passes through in 2 different places?
Right.
So I'm trying to get a different color here, right? Here and here. That's what makes it fail the vertical line test. Okay, awesome. All right, I'm going to erase that. Okay, what else? We got Sedona says the top left has more than, I believe that's supposed to say 1 line on the graph. Absolutely. Does anybody know what kind of function that's called? I'll give you a hint. There's pieces. It's called a piecewise function, okay? And a piecewise function is something we're actually going to look at the end of this unit, okay? How to evaluate, okay? All right. So that is definitely something that makes quadrant 2, that particular different. Quadrant 1 is the only linear function. Excellent. I love the fact that we're using like that terminology, right? That's the only linear function, right? Quadrant 2 has a part that's a linear function, but what else does it have? Anybody else know what that blue portion is in quadrant 2? We're going to study them in the next unit. Yeah, Sathvik says a quadratic function. Absolutely. Awesome. How about the green line? That's still a linear function, but do you guys know what we specifically call a horizontal line? So that's called a constant function, okay? Because the y value is always constant. Okay, what else we've got? Naveen, the horizontal line test is actually something that we'll talk about when we do inverse functions. It's the vertical line test that we're working with right now, okay? Sedona says quadrant 3 because it only has plotted points. Absolutely, I agree, right? Those are just a bunch of points, right? It's still a function, right? Because it still passes the vertical line test. All right. Anything else before we move into our notes section? You guys did a great job so far. You guys come up with a lot of great things to talk about here. I see there's one more that I can think of, and it's quadrant 4. It's a specific, yes, Krish, that's exactly what I was thinking. Quadrant 4 is the only one that passes through the origin, right? So it's the only one that contains that really special point at origin. Okay, all right, excellent job, everybody. Love it, love it, love it.